Jamal Khashoggi's murder made world headlines for weeks, but almost 3 months on, we're still waiting for answers. Who killed him at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, and who gave the order? Has the prime suspect, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, got away with murder? This is Inside Story. Hello there and a warm welcome to the programme. I'm Laura Kyle. The murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi shocked the world and drew international outrage. World leaders demanded answers from the Saudi kingdom, with Turkey leading the calls. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan wants 18 Saudi suspects extradited to Istanbul to stand trial and says he's determined to find out who gave the order to kill Khashoggi, believing it came from the highest levels of the Saudi government. Erdogan says he'll push for an international investigation, but as time goes by, there are fears the case might be losing its momentum. The fallout from Khashoggi's murder has been felt in different parts of the world. Saudi Arabia has revamped its intelligence services and fired 2 senior officials, Ahmed al-Asiri and Saud al-Qahtani, who are accused of being behind the 15-man hit squad sent to Istanbul. Both were close to Mohammed bin Salman. The US Senate last week blamed the Crown Prince for the murder after the CIA reportedly concluded he ordered it. The United States, which has provided military support for the Saudi-UAE coalition fighting the war in Yemen, has urged the kingdom to end hostilities there. And earlier this month, a ceasefire was agreed between the Yemeni government and Houthi rebels in the port of Hodeidah. Well, let's end the discussion, and joining us here on Inside Story to do so, from Ankara, we have Ozkan Erbay, Ankara Bureau Chief for Daily Sabah. In London, Sami Hamdi, Editor-in-Chief of International Interest. And from Miami, via Skype, Robert Gutsche, Associate Professor at Lancaster University. A very warm welcome to all of you. And Noor, let's start with you. Has the quest for justice over the murder of Jamal Khashoggi lost its momentum?
Actually, I don't see any indicator to make this conclusion in terms of losing momentum from the perspective of Ankara, from the perspective of Turkish government. So let's look at the President Erdogan's latest words in December 14 during the OIC meeting. So President Erdogan was so decisive on the trial, and the whole evidences and the whole process will be clear as much as 2 months ago when the murder took place in Istanbul. So President Erdogan again said that and underlined that the whole evidences and the whole steps throughout the murder will be revealed step by step by the Turkish government. So Turkish government and Turkey doesn't have any hesitation to bring up the whole evidences or insisting the request and demands from the Saudi government to shed light on the case.
But as you say, that was December 14th. That was 10 days ago, and we've had very little since then. Of course, events carry on and overtake events such as the Khashoggi murder. I mean, when are we next going to hear from Turkey on this?
So, as you mentioned, during 10 days, there's been a lot of things, actually, Turkey has been going through about the Syria, about the other national security interests, about the YPG and Syrian border. But again, I would like to point out that Turkey does not seem, at least as we are observing as a journalist, doesn't seem that Turkey will step back in any action to put pressure on Saudi government internally and internationally. I have to underline that internationally because the investigation is still underway and ongoing, led by Istanbul Chief Prosecutor's Office. So again, so far we have seen request of extradition from the Saudi government of 15 suspects of the murder. And again, President Erdogan's wordings on that. We know that the whole relevant to this murder will be revealed, and we know they are the closest aides to the MBS. So from that point, from that fact, that Turkey doesn't seem much to step back or losing a momentum to put more pressure on Saudi government, but the international backing needed on the ground now.
Okay, MBS, of course, being Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. We'll certainly get back in just a moment to what Turkey does next. Right now, though, Robert, I want to get an idea of, to the extent you feel the issue has slipped off the agenda of world leaders.
Well, I mean, from the Trump perspective, the United States perspective as being a world leader, it took forever to get any traction. Donald Trump talked about this situation as a business deal gone wrong, almost, that the cover-up just wasn't good enough, and that the Saudi officials should be ashamed that they weren't able to hide any involvement better than they did. These other movements by the United States of withdrawing, support for the Yemen war. I mean, that war has been going on for years, and just now they're interested in having a discussion about U.S. involvement in it. Same to do with the arms sales to Saudi Arabia. And connecting this back to this journalist murder. It's becoming a distraction point. Donald Trump doesn't want this to go any further. We don't know what information is going to come out about what the president knew about this and when he knew about it. So from a United States perspective, there isn't going to be a lot of interest in helping the international community understand what truly happened. The prince could walk up to Donald Trump and to the CIA and say, yeah, I did it myself. And I don't know that they would believe him. I don't know that they want to believe what's happened, and so for the international community is on their own on this one.
Okay, Sami, do you think there is more information, firstly, that is to be revealed? Will it be revealed, or is this more of a case of being case closed?
I think we have to look at the bigger picture here from the perspective that when Turkey was pursuing the Khashoggi case and putting out these leaks, there was a clear intention from Turkey to try to come out of isolation, to try to convince the US to come on board, to try to convince the US to abandon Mohammed bin Salman. I think the release of the pastor in the early days was a sign of goodwill, a sign of a gesture. But it seems Trump disliked the idea that the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan was strong-arming him, essentially trying to force Donald Trump to choose between Turkey and between Saudi Arabia, trying to force Donald Trump to abandon Mohammed bin Salman. Let's remember Donald Trump in the early days, he was saying, look, guys, why am I going to give up 110 billion or 180 billion, however much it is, of contracts for somebody who wasn't even a US citizen? So I think with regards to the Khashoggi case, I think it was, from the justice was always going to come on the political perspective, not necessarily the legal. The reason why I say this is because from a legal perspective, Turkey has to prove that Mohammed bin Salman gave the order directly. However, according to the leaks, there are a lot of implications, definitely that perhaps give more than a reasonable, beyond reasonable doubt that Mohammed bin Salman knew about it, but nothing yet to say that he gave the actual order. And that's what's needed in order to prove that Mohammed bin Salman was involved. Moreover, there is a very interesting twist in the coverage of the Khashoggi case that actually took place a couple of days ago. There is a very interesting article in the Washington Post that discusses Khashoggi's activities within his last days, notably that he was trying to secure funding from the Saudis, from the Qatar Foundation, trying to set up a think tank, trying to find some door back to the government in the sense that we needed this, telling the Saudis we need this think tank in order to try to disassociate Saudi Arabia from accusations of terrorism. This is a very interesting article to be published at this moment in time, because although it doesn't feel like trying to put a stain on Khashoggi's memory, it's certainly very interesting in that it changes this perspective that has been made of Khashoggi as an angel or as a defender of freedom of speech and reform in Saudi Arabia to somebody who was still within that framework of operating within that particular world. And I think this article is very interesting because it shows a shift in the public attitude towards the Khashoggi case. Let's remember the only reason that it was on the table for so long is because of the Turkey leaks, because Turkey was so insistent on going after Mohammed bin Salman. But when you look at the bigger picture now, Mohammed bin Salman got his public high five from Vladimir Putin when he went to the G20. Turkey has come out of isolation, Trump is now withdrawing from Syria, and Turkey now has the green light to go after the YPG in northern Syria. And there is a definite warming of relations between Ankara and Washington. Erdogan convinced Trump where he superseded John Bolton's advice. Trump took Erdogan's advice over John Bolton's advice with regards to Syria. In terms of Turkey politically, it's out of isolation. It's got what it wants in Syria. Mohammed bin Salman, his reforms have been damaged. Erdogan's status has gone up in the Arab and Muslim world. Mohammed bin Salman, a bit wounded, but at the end of the day, the reason is this. What I say is this. Politically, the justice is more likely to come politically, but not legally. Legally is much more difficult to prove. Sure. And I don't know how much Turkey has, whether it has the definitive proof that Mohammed bin Salman ordered the killing.
Absolutely. Plenty of questions being raised there. Noor, let's just first pick up on Sami's last point. Is there any more, do you think, does the government believe that's going to come out, that is to be revealed, that will create a direct link between the Crown Prince and Khashoggi's murder?
Yes, I believe so. In terms of that, so far we have seen, we received from the speech of the President Erdogan and Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu that Turkey has more to prove that MBS is playing a major role. Actually, gave the order of killing. So we can take that actually from the President Erdogan's speech in OIC's meeting. So as long as Turkey knows that the closest aides, including Kahtani, wasn't taking place directly into this murder, so Turkey doesn't go further actually at this point, at this time, to directly figuring out the Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So Turkey doesn't want to pretend to be just politically, just playing a political revenge game
no,
at this point.
Why would they be withholding that information if they do have that direct link? And they've been very open about releasing other information in a drip-drop method through to local media. Why are they withholding the crucial link?
So probably Turkey expects more backing from the other countries, such as United States, such as European Union, or international institutions such as United Nations. Again, since the beginning, Turkey is repeatedly saying that this trial needs to be held in an international court, international institutions. So. After the trial actually held in Istanbul, so that should be carried out to the international platforms. So probably Turkey's perspective, Ankara's perspective from the beginning, as it maintains up to now, is that Turkey doesn't want to be the sole actually player in this whole process.
Okay.
Playing the political cards as the Washington does, as the other capitals in the Europe does.
Sure. Robert, then, first of all, do you also believe that there is still a smoking gun that Turkey is withholding in this case? And if it is the US likely to take that bait and give Turkey the backing that it wants to release it?
Well, I do think that there's more information out there from interviews or interrogations, depending on who's doing the questioning. I do think that there are answers out there. I do think there's a smoking gun. What that is, I'm not sure. There seems to be a lot of evidence that's been put forward, lots of smoking guns that have been uncovered. But I think our other guest is correct that the United States is really playing a role here in what gets released, what shouldn't get released, because Turkey would be on its own. And the United States has a vested interest financially and politically, possibly even legally in this case. We know such connections between Jared Kushner and the Trump family and Saudi officials and business owners is amazing and great and deep and long lasting. So there are lots of motivations here for the United States to keep kind of a lid on this information, see if we can get this to go away through actions with the military, maybe influencing Saudi officials to change their own organizations, as they've announced in the last day or so. And so any smoking guns that are out there, the water's going to be dumped on them, that flame's going to be put out. It doesn't mean to be, so negative here, but this is how the United States operates in terms of its international partnerships. and making sure its own interests go forward, because we don't know what that smoking gun would actually be pointing at, and how deep the knowledge base to this murder goes by. And you have to know that the White House probably hates that Khashoggi was a U.S. resident, not a citizen, but a resident. If that hadn't been the case, it just would have been another international journalist killed by a despot someplace. And so they're probably just wringing their own necks that they have to even be involved in this.
Sami, how do you think the Saudi leadership is viewing all this? If it does believe that Turkey has more information on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's pretty confident that it's got the backing of the US, what does it need to do to move forward?
I think what we have to first point out is that if Saudi Arabia believed that Turkey was bluffing, they would never have made all the changes that they did, changing their story from he left the embassy to eventually he was killed, to eventually to the fact he was beaten up, then he was dismembered. They kept changing their story. Nor would they have fired the Asiri or Al-Qahtani or some of these other advisors. Saudi Arabia does believe that Turkey has something, but they are not sure what. And I think this is why there has been extensive lobbying in Washington by the likes of Netanyahu, for example, the Israeli Prime Minister, who said that Saudi should have a pass with regards to the killing of Jamal Khashoggi. This is why Mike Pompeo, he went to Riyadh and he said to Mohammed bin Salman, look, we need you to clean this up, and here's a suggestion how to do it. This is why Mohammed bin Salman did his tour to these weak countries, Egypt, Bahrain, UAE and Tunisia, countries that can't really defy him, in order to show that he's not isolated politically. And when he went to the G20, he finally got his high five from Putin, and that was the stamp of authority that he is now ready to be accepted on the international stage. I think the biggest issue for anyone who's looking for justice for Jamal Khashoggi is the reality of the situation in the region, which is that the US sees in Mohammed bin Salman a vital ally. Some people say that the relations between US and Saudi Arabia should be separated from the relationship with Mohammed bin Salman. I think this is a superficial view, because Mohammed bin Salman is unlike any other prince before him. He is the first prince, Arab leader, to put more pressure on the Palestinians than on the Israelis. He has been an integral part of the deal of the century. He's essentially poured money into Donald Trump and into the US, essentially pleading for their support in order to survive, and he's ready to do anything that they tell him in the region in order to implement US interests. I think with regards to the US, with regards to the Pentagon, with regards to all of the US institutions, Mohammed bin Salman is a rare find. He is a very vital ally to US interests. And let's also remember that the standards in this region are very different. This is a region where Sisi opened fire on thousands of protesters, killing hundreds in broad daylight, and he was invited to give a speech at the Nelson Mandela Forum at the UN General Assembly. Ironic, but this is the standards of the region. This is a region where Libya is in civil war, where Syria is in civil war. The standards are very different. I think with regards to, if we're looking at it from legal perspective, we're not going to get it. But politically, there has been some movement forward. Mohammed bin Salman has changed his tone towards Turkey. In London, he was saying they are part of an axis of evil and supporters of extremism. At the Davos in the Desert Forum, he said, nobody can harm Saudi-Turkey relations as long as Mohammed bin Salman is here and President Erdogan is in Ankara. He changed his tone towards Qatar, saying Qatar has done well economically, seemingly ignoring the fact that he is leading a blockade against the Qataris. Mohammed bin Salman has made tangible changes as a result of the pressure that he is under. But the problem for the Turks is this. Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, the foreign minister, he said during this Khashoggi case, we are ready to participate in an international investigation. France, Britain and Germany gave only words. They said we welcome this investigation, but no action was taken. The UN welcomed the investigation, but no action was taken. Why? Because the US does not want action taken with regard to the Khashoggi case. And let's be honest here. Why should they? I mean, in the sense that morally, of course they should take action. But let's talk in the realities of the world and the realities of the way that they operate. Journalists are killed all the time in the region. Why should Khashoggi be any different? Repression of human rights is normal in the region. Why should Khashoggi be any different? Violation of human rights is normal in the region. Why should Khashoggi be any different? This is an America that invaded Iraq and Afghanistan on the basis of flimsy evidence.
Why all this hoo-ha suddenly about Khashoggi? We've only got about 5 minutes left, and I want to explore as to whether there will actually be an investigation. President Erdogan has said he wants it. How far is he willing to push for it?
Yeah, it's a hard question to predict, actually. But we can clearly say that Ankara is well aware of that the prominent names of Saudi government, among the Saudi government and among the U.S. administration, are filling the international public, international ethics, actually, on that murder. So, but I can clearly say that Turkey doesn't want to portray itself to be stepping back from these investigations, and at least first of all morally. So Turkey puts the moral perspective on this case from the day one. So Turkey was the country actually who spread the whole information and actually turned back the spin, expected spin, information flow, propaganda flow from the Saudi government from the beginning. So Turkey prevent the whole wrong assumptions about the case or any manipulation so far. So as Turkey has done the whole things in 2 months from the day one, so I don't think that Turkey will step back from this case, putting pressure on Saudi government and international area and putting pressure on U.S. government as much as it can. But again, it depends on U.S. administration's maintaining or not maintaining the hypocrisy on this murder, because for the sake of the relations with Saudi Arabia.
Okay. Robert, you and Sami have made it very clear that the US is it's not its priority anyway to continue investigating or looking at Khashoggi. Morally speaking, though, what about the UN? Is that a body that is willing to pursue an international investigation, or is everybody just willing to drop this issue?
Well, I think the United Nations, has a couple routes here in terms of a quote unquote investigation. A full-fledged investigation through the Security Council or through another entity within the United Nations is probably not going to happen, in part because any sort of legally bound outcomes that would have to come from that. But fact finding, certainly, I think we're going to see, some UN fact finders going through some of these documents, going through interviews, going to these places of the world that we've been talking about to try to understand what's really happened here. But look, what are they going to come up with that the U.S. CIA hasn't come up with? Again, they don't. CIA likes to say they don't make conclusions. They just kind of have information that they provide information. We've had the CIA, we've had the FBI, we've had Turkey, we've had all of these different entities looking into this, and except for those smoking guns, whatever they may be, which I don't think a UN fact-finding team is really going to uncover. What more do we need? What more do we need to know here? I mean, this has been pretty clear, and I think even this morning today we've pretty much outlined some sort of case for the moral obligation, but and the political obligation to do something here. But the question is, what will the United Nations actually be able to do from a fact-finding investigation or a fact-finding effort? And I really do think that the pressure is going to be to the point in the new year that this just goes away. A slap on the wrist. Don't do this again.
Okay.
Look, the changes that you've made are sufficient.
Sami, just in the last minute we've got, is Saudi Arabia being given the free hand to do this all over again?
No, they're not given a free hand to do this all over again. I think this is the Khashoggi case has been a shock. We have to understand what we want when we say justice. We're not going to get accountability of Mohammed bin Salman for what happened to Khashoggi. But we will see a change in policy. We will see warnings taking place. We will see some dissenting voices in the US, even within the CIA, who weren't happy with Mohammed bin Salman's rise at the expense of their favorite Mohammed bin Nayef. There is definitely a change in policy. There are things on the table being considered that weren't before. Khashoggi has changed some of the dynamics. I think if we stop being idealistic and perceive this world as a moral, good and just world where everybody is held accountable for their crimes, I think if we move away from this idealistic approach and pursue it from a political justice approach, we will see the Khashoggi case has done much to change the dynamics in the region.
Okay.
Turkey has benefited. Saudi Arabia has been harmed by it. So I think if we change our parameters a bit, we will see some sort of justice.
That's a good reality check indeed. Many thanks to all of you for joining us for that very interesting discussion today. Noor, Ozkan, Erbay, Sami Hamdi and Robert Gutsche. And thank you too very much for watching. You can see the programme again anytime by visiting our website. That's aljazeera.com. For further discussion, do go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Laura Kyle, and the whole team here, it's bye for now.